Peter, as always, thank you for filling us in. Well, let's now bring in Mohamed Taha, who is with BBC Arabic, of course, but with me in the studio now with more on some of those details. Mohamed, if we just start with what Peter was talking about there and the two leaders were talking about, and Israel's defence minister has been more specific about the movement of Palestinians. What are you hearing about that?
Yes, the Israeli Defense Minister Katz, during this meeting or slightly before it, said that he made orders for the Israeli army to create what he called the humanitarian area in Rafah area in southern Gaza, to contain, to have a plan to place at least 600,000 Palestinians, and the plan is to move all the 2 million Palestinians in this area and evacuate the whole Gaza from any Palestinians. So is enforcing this vision of displacing the Palestinians in this area. And of course, we heard before about the voluntarily allowance for the Palestinians to leave Gaza and the pressures that they put on Egypt and Jordan and other Arab countries to take them. Of course, these plans and the announcement of them at this time does not help the ceasefire negotiations.
Well, I was just going to say, I mean, fill us in on those negotiations, because, of course, again, President Trump was very positive about how they're going, believing there'll be some sort of agreement soon. So I'd like to know what you're hearing about those, but also what regional leaders have to say about this idea of the movement of Palestinians.
Of course, the regional leaders are utterly refusing the plans. The Egyptian president was invited to the White House and he didn't go, anticipating that he will be asked about that, and the other leaders are really against it, the Palestinians are against it. Negotiations-wise, the Israeli delegation is still in Doha, the negotiations is still going on. There is no breakthrough in the 3 points in this, about the ceasefire, the full withdrawal, and the humanitarian distribution system, but still everybody is hopeful. And on top of them is the American President Trump, who says he is still hoping that a ceasefire deal could be reached this week.
And what, in the meantime, is happening on the ground? What's been going on overnight?
Very big fighting in Gaza between the Hamas fighters and the Israeli army, especially in the north, in Beit Hanun, where the Hamas fighters said they made a trap for the Israeli army. The IDF said they lost 5 soldiers and there are 14 injured. It gives an indication that this war, if it continues without a ceasefire deal, it is far, far from being close to an end.
And also something that caught my attention just a few days ago, and we haven't had an opportunity to talk about it in this programme, is the comments coming from some leaders within Hamas saying they just have lost control of so many parts now of Gaza.
Of course, now most of the parts of Gaza are under control of the Israeli Defense Army.
But it wasn't the IDF they were implying, it was other other regimes or other internal fighting going on or what have you. It's becoming a little bit where, Hamas hasn't got control. IDF is also obviously operating, but there's other things going on too.
Of course, the humanitarian situation and the whole situation and policing and the control of Gaza became more or less ruins. That's why the Israelis now are talking about moving them to the south. And also we saw the difference of tactics that the Hamas militants are using, which is previously they were using Al-Yassin anti-armored vehicles shelling towards the tanks. Now they are using the shawaz, the traps more. It looks like there is a structural changes within the Hamas leadership.
Okay, interesting. Mohamed, thank you for your time and bringing us up to date on some of the latest developments.